Today's vlog is a follow-up from part 1 of our time spent in Montenegro. So if you haven't watched that yet, definitely check that one out first. As you can see, it's a lot colder here than it was there. So right now we are in Brasov, Romania. But as I mentioned in my first video, we've just been so busy. I haven't even had time to catch up and tell you all about Montenegro. So this video is going to show you all around kind of the second part of our time spent there. In total, we were in Montenegro for just over a month, and it was a mix of kind of fails and wins. In the last video, you will have seen some, scams we ran into, things like that. In this one, you'll see we had a bit of an issue with one of our Airbnbs, but all this stuff happens when you're traveling and you just have to deal with it. So hope you enjoy this vlog as we go along. Don't forget to please give it a like, and if you have enjoyed following along on our adventures, please subscribe. It's free, it doesn't cost anything. It will just let you know every time I update and release a new video. So thank you to those who have already subscribed, and if you haven't, please hit that button. So in last week's vlog, I had left off at us being in Herceg-Novi. So from there, we actually took a bus to Budva, Montenegro, and the bus ride was really kind of cool because it traced the water all the way down through the mountains. It was a really nice view all the way. Not too bad, made a few stops along the way, but overall a pretty good experience if you're traveling in Montenegro. We checked into our Airbnb in Budva, and we quickly realized that this place was a lot different than where we'd been staying in Herceg-Novi. So Herceg-Novi is more of a relaxed, kind of slower paced tourist type of town. And Budva is definitely, it's got a real party vibe to it. There's casinos, there's nightclubs, there's restaurants, there's huge malls. It's a lot different. And I had also read that in the peak summer months, it gets extremely busy. Luckily, we were there kind of just after summer holidays, so it was a lot more manageable. We were able to get into restaurants. We were able to go through the old town without too many people, everywhere you turn. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to visit some of these destinations, just double check how busy they really do get during the summer months. The first thing we did when we got to Budva was try to find some food because we hadn't been to a grocery store yet to get any supplies or anything like that. So we thought, let's go and find a nice restaurant. And after looking online, we found one that sounded pretty good. It was a barbecue restaurant, and it was called Itzi. And it had a really unique experience. So the food was okay. I wouldn't say it was the best food, but the overall experience was kind of cool. The interior of the restaurant was beautifully decorated. And when you ordered your barbecued meat, it actually came up in this tiny little personal barbecue. And you open it up and there was the flames going and everything. So the presentation really kind of won us over. It was a really neat, unique way to enjoy our first night there in Budva. our Airbnb in Budva was only a short walk to the old town. And this old town is actually one of the oldest urban centers in the Adriatics. And it's a walled city, and this wall was actually built when the Venetians ruled. So if you're interested in history, it's a really cool place to go and explore. Walking through the old town is almost like you're in a labyrinth of these braided streets that are filled with boutiques and restaurants and little cafes. It's a really unique place to visit and spend some time and just enjoy kind of the history that has been there throughout all of these years and soak in all of the European culture that I love so much. There was one time in particular that was really memorable to me, and we were walking through the old town. We came to St. Ivan Church, and there was a men's choir inside practicing, and we kind of stood outside of the little window there. We couldn't see inside, but we could just hear their voices, and it was kind of echoing through the courtyard, and we were looking up to the citadel and the beautiful views over the water. It was just like being in a movie. It was spectacular. It's something I will never forget. One thing about Budva, actually in most of Montenegro, but I noticed it the most, I think, in Budva, is the amount of cats that are around. And as a cat person, I absolutely love seeing all of them. And they are wild cats, but they're really taken care of by the locals. There's a lot of times you'll go into a shop and you'll see little donation pots so that they can use the money to help feed them. When I went out early one morning, I saw the ladies going around and leaving little piles of food for them everywhere. There's even a cat museum you can go in. It's only a couple of euros, and all of that money goes towards helping feeding and taking care of these cats. So let me show you a few that I really fell in love with. As you know, we love our coffee shops and we love going to those every day to do our work. And in this one that we went to every day here in Budva, there was this one little cat that would come in and visit me every day and roll around on the floor and just entertain me a little bit as I was working. So here he is. I wish I could take him home. As you know, I have been crocheting and crafting as we've been going, and I had started a crocheted scarf. I can't remember the last video I showed that in, but I finally finished it while we were in Budva, and I made it into an infinity scarf so that I can just wrap it around really easily, but I felt that it needed something else. So I ended up needle felting some little flowers and some little kind of decorative balls and petals and things to go on it as well. I think it just adds that special little touch. Of course, a visit to Budva isn't the same without going to see the Ballerina of Budva. So this is a sculpture that is set just about a 5-minute walk outside of the walled city. And the legend is that a ballerina had met a sailor and he went back out to sea and promised her he'd return. So she would continue going out there and dancing and waiting for her sailor every evening. But unfortunately, he never returned and she died of a broken heart. After spending a couple of weeks in Budva and enjoying everything that had to offer there, we were ready to move on to our next spot in Montenegro, which was Kotor. So again, we took a bus from Budva to Kotor. It's very easy. The price is pretty reasonable. And we got into Kotor, got to the bus station and decided to walk to our Airbnb since it wasn't too far of a walk, about a 15-minute walk. The only thing we were not taking into consideration once again is that our Airbnb was on top of a huge hill once again. So I literally pushed my suitcase up this hill, but we got in eventually. And it did offer amazing views of the water. Let me show you what our Airbnb looked like and those great views off of our balcony. So this is where our trip in Kotor took a little bit of an unexpected turn. Like I said, things happen when you're traveling. And unfortunately, our really nice Airbnb, there was a problem with the water and the water heater had broken. So we had no hot water. And they sent a plumber. They did the best they could, but it just wasn't going to work. So unfortunately, we had to move out. And that meant moving on from Kotor. So again, unfortunately, because we'd gone out the couple of days before, I had taken some still photos, but I had planned on taking all of my videos to show you all in the next couple of days when there were less people, less cruise ships. But we had to move on. Like I said, these things happen when you travel. So we decided to leave Kotor because it was so busy and there weren't a lot of Airbnbs that were available for us to check into that day. So we decided to move on to Tivat, which is a small town right near the airport, because we were going to be flying out anyway in the next couple of days and moving on to our next destination. So we called a taxi to take us. It was about a 30-minute ride, and that was quite an adventure because our cab driver was going along the main road and there was a lot of construction. We had already noticed this when we had our rental car. A lot of construction going on near the airport and everything was all backed up. So at one point he just suddenly made a turn off of the main road and we ended up on some gravel construction site. And I have to admit that I was a little bit worried what was going to happen. Were we about to get mugged? I wasn't sure what was going on. I wasn't sure if there was going to be cars waiting there. I didn't know. But it all turned out okay. He just was he knew that this construction site was here and that there were no construction men working on this part. So he knew that he could kind of get around a lot of the traffic. And he was laughing hysterically, driving crazy. He was talking on the phone, obviously boasting to his other cabbie friends that he was doing this and getting around the traffic. But to us, it was a little bit nerve-wracking because we didn't know what was going on. But we got to Tivat in the end. Again, that's all that matters, that you get there safe and sound. So we got to our place in Tivat. It was a really nice Airbnb again, and a new place for us to kind of check out and see what this little place was like. We only had a couple of nights there before we were set to fly out to our new destination. So the first night we actually found they're building this brand new, it's kind of a huge yacht club with all of these really nice, fancy, expensive restaurants and boutiques and shops. And they're in the middle of building it, but some of it is open now. So we found an Indian restaurant and we were so excited to have different food rather than kind of the usual Balkan barbecue. We were starting to get a little tired of that since we've been in the Balkans for so long. So it was really nice to have that change, you know, kind of mix up our food palette a little bit. We enjoyed that. And the next day we again found a coffee shop. It was pouring rain, but we were able to walk there using a little footpath. And that was really nice because it gave us nice views of the mountains all around in the rain. It kind of gave a nice little vibe as we were walking there. And yeah, overall, you know, like I said, these things happen. We got to check out another area. So this concludes our time in Montenegro. I hope you've enjoyed my little tales of where we've been and what we've been doing. And hopefully you will subscribe so that you can follow along in the future. Our next destination I'll be talking about is Vienna, Austria. So stay tuned for that video. Got lots and lots to show you from that destination.